Welcome, it's December 26, 2024, and I'm with Mr. John J. Jeckovich, reading his mother's book, Their Mother's Sons. How are you doing today, Mr. Jeckovich?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right, I guess.
You're looking well. Did you have a nice Christmas?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Did you have a special visitor today?
Amber, yeah.
Yeah, his great-granddaughter, Amber Nicole Jeckovich, came over, a fine young lady. He always likes when she comes to visit. So, you're having a pretty good day?
Today?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay, good. What's your dog tag number?
421965.
Okay. Do you want me to read a few pages, or do you want to?
No, you go ahead and read it. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Jeckovich is in Company H of the 2nd Battalion of the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich lives by the motto, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. So, we're on, let's see, we're on page 699. How many pages is this book?
849.
Wow, that's a lot of writing. Page 699, and this chapter is titled Wedding and the Poconos. Is the Poconos where you went on your honeymoon?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. After a while, Mother made some tea, and we sat around the kitchen table, the three of us, our future bond to one another. We talked about many different things, all in amicable, tranquil tone, which was very pleasant. It was soon time for me to leave work, and I suddenly got the same feeling I had when I left Renee for the last time. It was foolish and absurd of me, but the sensation persisted and took possession of me, excluding everything else. I did not want to leave Delphine alone here, yet I knew I would have to. I felt compelled to stay and was driven by my work habit. I knew my work was inconsequential and of no importance compared to my feelings towards Delphine and her well-being. I had gotten her into a situation, and the least I could do was look after her. My work became more repugnant and loathsome in the light of my protective compulsion regarding Delphine. Sensing my angst and apprehension, she took my hand and gently walked me to the side door. So that means you're heading to Kimberly Clark, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be all right, she whispered softly. I'll be just fine, she reassured me gently, holding my hand tightly. I kissed her tenderly on the cheek and drawing her close to me, not wishing to let her go. She was not anxious or concerned in being left alone, and I knew she would not display anything otherwise. Her perseverance was outstanding, and it gave me great comfort and ease of burden of leaving her. I kissed her once again and said I'll be back a little before midnight. She smiled brightly, confident in her own resourcefulness, bolstered by my concern over her and her deep commitment to accomplish what we set to do. As I walked to work, so you walked to work for 35 years?
Yeah.
Snow?
Rain and sleet, yeah.
Did your car ever drive you to work?
No.
Oh boy. As I walked to work, I felt disgusted with myself, knowing that I had started down a long, weary path of self-denial. My work would demand much of both of us, but the rewards from it were mediocre and diminished. All that evening, I was agonized over how Delphine was making out at home. Had she encountered some major setback, like Mother going into one of her tirades or worse, and taking the bus back to Buffalo because of some unresolved dispute with Mother, due no doubt to Mother's own volition? But nothing happened. Your mother was fine, right?
Yeah.
Your mother got along with Delphine, right?
Oh, yeah, Delphine got, yeah.
Yeah.
They're good friends, yeah.
Yeah. I conjured up all sorts of convoluted scenarios, and towards the end of the shift, I resigned myself to expect anything and everything when I arrived home that night. I hurriedly took a shower after being relieved and walked the 7 blocks to where Delphine was. I had a key to open the side door and noticed there was no lights on the downstairs. My heart sank and my worst fears had been realized. I thought Delphine had left for home and it was all over between us. It brought back memories of my earlier experiences and I got a sickening feeling in the pit of my stomach. Suddenly the hall lights went on and I looked up the stairway. Delphine was leaning over the banister, smiling down at me, bright and cheery. She must have seen the look of sheer anguish on my face, for she asked me what was the matter, what was wrong. I reached to the top of the stairs, took her in my arm, and held her tightly, her warm body assuring me that all was not lost. As we passed through the kitchen, she remarked about the curtains Mother and she had put up. I glanced at them hurriedly and stated they looked great, not elaborating any further upon them. We went in the living room and sat on the couch. It was then she told me that Mother had stayed up as long as she could, but had eventually sleep overpowered her and she went to bed. Sally and Lookie were out, so she came upstairs to the apartment to wait for me. She had been upstairs for over an hour, sitting on a couch and listening to the radio. I could hear playing softly in the background the music of Glenn Miller coming forth from the small speakers embedded into the front of it. Okay, that's good. So everything went fine, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. She put on fresh makeup and was wearing her high heels once again, which made her irresistible and alluring. Come on, let's get the curtains in the kitchen. Come on, let's see the curtains in the kitchen. She quickly responded, not wishing to engage any further in our endearment. This was the new environment for her, and she still felt uncomfortable in it. I shared her concern. We walked into the kitchen and I surveyed the curtains. I shared her concern. We walked into the kitchen, I surveyed the curtains and I held her around the waist and gave her my approval of concern. I turned to her face and put my arms about her and kissed her warmth and inviting lips. She was completely immersed in our embrace, and after several moments she released the hold on me and she said we should go. She retreated to the bathroom to freshen up, and it took a few moments that she was gone to recover my composure and wait for her return. She returned shortly, and then, smiling slightly, suggested that I should wash off the lipstick smears she had put on me. I was a little embarrassed at the suggestion, but went into the bathroom to wash them off. We walked about the apartment one more time, and then looked up quietly and left. Sally and Lookie were both not home yet, so I left the side light on and snapped the lock on the side door. They had both keys, and Delphine remarked that she hoped they would not awaken Mother. As we drove to Buffalo, I asked Delphine how much time she spent with Mother. She remarked that Mother was good company and she enjoyed her stay with her. They went upstairs to put up the kitchen curtains, and after that she sat there in the living room and talked about many subjects, mostly about her family, how they were slowly drifting away. A good part of the time, Delphine and Mother talked about me and how dependable and concerned I was. She stated she did not know how she would manage anything without my help, since Lookie and Sally were not much help to her. She was glad that we were going to live upstairs, and she would try to get along with us and not interfere too much in our lives. Delphine also stated that Mother liked her very much and was heartened by the fact that for once something had gone to my benefit and that she, Delphine, had come into my life. She felt concerned that the things had not worked out for me. She felt concerned that things had not worked out for me and I had not found what I was looking for. That if I knew myself I wanted to. She knew that I did not like working in the paper mill, but gave me credit for sticking it out since I had not found anything else to take its place. Delphine also mentioned that Mother greatly appreciated her visiting with her and looked forward to her company in the future. So Delphine, before you're married, visit your mother quite a bit. Yeah. I had forgotten that Delphine had not worn an outer coat or jacket as the night had turned colder and damp. And in my interest in listening to Delphine and tell of her experience with my mother, I had forgotten to turn the car heater on. I apologized for the oversight. She smiled and then moved closer to me, stating that she had a wonderful time today and it was a good idea for her to come down by the bus. I put my hand on her silken knees and began moving it slowly. You know, we have to get to rehearsal next Friday night at the church, and the next day is the wedding. So now the wedding's approaching quickly, right? Yeah. I nodded in agreement with her, at the same time touching the engagement ring on her finger and thinking back to the time at the Basilica that I gave it to her. How different everything seemed now compared to then, and how much she transpired in those few short months. What would we look back upon a year from now and think differently about it as we compare to now? I won't see you until Thursday, interjected. We will be bringing some of your belongings to the apartment then, or will you wait until we come back from the honeymoon? So the wedding's getting close, so now you're thinking about bringing some of Delphine's belongings to the apartment.
Yeah.
Okay. She thought for a moment and said she'd pick them up after we returned and see her parents for a while. I had them all packed. There isn't much more clothes than anything else, she confided. I can come for your stuff during the day and set it in the closet, saving up the chore of doing it when we return. I responded in a sense of her aversion to imposing herself on anyone. Surprisingly, she agreed to my suggestion and explained that we would be going to work at noon on Thursday and that would be a good time to transport her belongings. This way would be one less concern for us returning from our honeymoon. Minutes, please. Huh?
16.
I was at Delphine's house a little after 9 a.m. at Thursday morning, and she was up and awaiting my arrival. She made some coffee and had bought some jelly donuts from Brzezinski's bakery the night before. Was Brzezinski's a good bakery?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of things would you buy there?
The jelly donuts.
That was your specialty?
Yeah.
Yeah. Her parents were both out, and I felt a little more at ease as we sat at the kitchen table. We talked generally about what would happen in the next several days. She was dressed for work, and I remarked that this was the earliest I had seen her, and she still looked alluring and captivating. She smiled and twitched her nose, and then poured me coffee, her high heels clicking as she walked about. She looked inviting, and she admitted just was enticing. Delphine was correct. Most of her belongings consisted of clothes, shoes, and accessories. Not much in the way of furniture or other tangible objects. She was slightly embarrassed as we towed a large box of assortment of dresses and skirts and blouses to the car, along with several boxes of shoes. I filled most of the back seat with the remainder going to a large trunk area. I later drove her to work, and she reminded me that she was attending a combination farewell party and shower after work. She expected it to last at least till 9:30 p.m., and I wondered if I would meet her afterward. I said I would and get the location of the place and that the event to be held, stating that I would be there at 8:30. She was delighted at that, and I would be there, exclaiming that it would be the first time she saw me twice in one day. Get used to it, I explained. You'll be seeing me more often than next week. She only smiled and sat close to me, taking my hand and holding it. I felt her engagement ring once again and thought all would transpire in the next few weeks. The wedding, the honeymoon, and finally settling to our new apartment. It would be a change, definitely, and that is what we wanted. It started to snow, nothing heavy, but the snowflakes were increasing in size, and we both wondered if we were in a snowstorm. Delphine was apprehensive that it would turn into a full-blown storm and disrupt our plans for the next few days. I told her not to worry, that we would not have a major snowstorm, and it would be too late in the season, and besides, we wanted some snow for our honeymoon. After all, we're going to the Poconos. Okay. I waited for Delphine that night at the little restaurant off of Main Street, where the farewell party was being held. I did not want to go inside in fear of intruding. Instead, I did not want to go inside in fear of intruding, as this would be their last night with people she had known for several years, probably since getting out of school. This would be most likely at her last get-together among a group of friends she had contact with on a daily basis, and I'm sure she was realizing this and feeling melancholy about it. Was this shower and going away party, was that for Delphine?
Yeah.
Okay. She came out of the restaurant laden with several gifts she had received from the co-workers. I could see that she was pleased with the event, and she approached the car. She had Agnes with her, and I asked if I could drive her home. It reminded me of the old times when I've driven Rosalie and Agnes home from work. Delphine and Agnes were talking continuously, and as I listened, I could not help feeling a sense of despair for Agnes, as she had very little in life but never complained or burdened anyone with her problems. Agnes would miss Delphine, and neither one of us saw Agnes again. After we dropped off Agnes at her house, we went back up to Main Street. It was still snowing and the roads were becoming slippery. We were both thinking about the next few days and how the weather would impact our wedding. Delphine remarked about the conditions on the roads. I cheerfully stated they were not too bad and it looked like the snow was letting up. Minutes, please. She came close to me, putting her hand on my shoulder and murmured,
10.
"Thanks for your encouragement. You're thinking the same thing I am." I know she felt a little nostalgic about her last days at work and leaving Rosalie and Agnes. To add her distress, it was snowing just before her wedding. I did not say much, for I did not want to burden her with my thoughts and intensify an already fluid situation. We had no particular place in mind, so we headed over to Delphine's home. and decided to park in front of her house to discuss the next few days. She reminded me once again of the rehearsal the next night at 7 p.m., and not to forget to bring my brother, as he was the best man, something I could not feel comfortable with or have a great regard for. I crouched down in the seat and closed my eyes, trying to liberate everything from my mind, especially I knew the wedding would be difficult for me despite it being small and intimate. It was just that it'd be taken up with people I had the most difficulty with. My two brothers, Millie, and my mother. I could hear Millie and Steve discussing our small wedding and how uncouth it all was. Lucky could not have cared less, and I was still surprised he had agreed to be best man. Mother was the unknown. I did not contemplate her reaction as she had towards Delphine, and perhaps she would still surprise me. But everything went fine, right?
Yeah.
How was Steve and Millie?
Well, Steve and Billy were, typical. They were typical.
They were all right, though, at the wedding.
Yeah.
How was Lucky
He never home.
at the wedding?
At the wedding?
Yeah.
Well, he stayed for a while left.
Okay. But everything, for argument's sake, went pretty smooth.
Yeah.
Okay. The next Friday, I drove up the rehearsal alone, and Lucky followed me in his car as he wanted to leave as soon as possible after the rehearsal. This was typical of his behavior, and I did not expect anything more from him. I was satisfied with his request, and I did not want to spend too much time in his presence, which would only add to my problems. I stopped to pick up Delphine at her house, and she directed me to the little church that we were to be married in. I was hoping I would remember the directions for the next day, else Delphine would arrive at the church ceremony without me. The rehearsal was short and to the point, nothing elaborate, and the young priest conducting it would marry us the next morning. I met Dorothy, Delphine's last-minute bridemaid. She was a lovely, warm person, and we were fortunate enough to obtain her on such a short notice. How was Dorothy?
She was nice, yeah.
Did you ever see her after the wedding?
No.
She was a lovely, warm person, and we were fortunate to obtain her on such short notice. Lucky was surprisingly pleasant, and he was almost friendly towards everyone, which amazed me. The whole thing was over by 9 p.m., and after partaking a confession and chatting several minutes with the priest, the bridal party, we drove Dorothy home and got acquainted with her. Lucky had left right after the rehearsal without saying too much to Dorothy or the priest, which did not bother me greatly. Delphine was a little disappointed at his quick departure, but did not make much of it. It was a little before 10 before we once again were alone, and she decided to part early tonight and each get a good night's sleep. Suddenly it all felt different, as if we were watching our reactions from another dimension. I felt strange, and was something we had never experienced during our relationship. It was not that as we were doubtful of our intentions, but all seemed so real and final. It was all formalized, and the only thing left for us was to do is live through the ritual, and by tomorrow night it'd be all behind us. So the wedding went smooth?
Yeah, the wedding went smooth.
And the wedding went quickly?
Yeah.
And after the wedding, did you go directly to the Poconos?
No, we stopped we stopped halfway down. It was getting late then.
What was the name of the town, do you remember?
Yeah. Outside of Buffalo.
Okay. Was there a lot of snow?
It was starting to snow, yeah.
Okay. I joined her for coffee. We quickly talked quietly about the events that were to unfold today. She once again related how lucky I was to have Delphine, to which I agreed wholeheartedly. She then went on into the tiresome that how helpful she had been towards me, and that I could not have what I had today without her untimely and selfless assistance. I questioned her assertion, but did not say anything directly, content only to listen to her instead concentrate on the day's event. I thought how strange it was that my mother ferment did not affect me as it used to, and I wondered what brought the change upon my mental state. I rightfully assumed it had much to do with Delphine and a contribution to my psyche. Going into the bedroom, I aroused Lookie, and he informed me that we had to leave for Buffalo in a short while. He was not too happy to be awakened at this hour, having only gone to bed several hours ago. So even on the wedding day, he was out late. Lookie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I stayed in the area until I knew he was fully awake. So you didn't want to leave until Lookie was awake, right?
Yeah.
Then I went into the bathroom to shave. I had taken a bath the previous night, not wishing to cause any confusion in the morning, as the only bathroom would be used throughout the morning. The wedding ceremony was scheduled for 10 a.m., and I contemplated that we should get there around 9:30. The weather was cooperating wonderfully, and then although it was cold, there was no snow on the ground. Minutes, please. It was sunny and the roads were dry. I knew Delphine would be thankful for...
It's just under 3.
Huh?
Just under 3.
I knew Delphine would be thankful for the good weather and gave us less an item to think about among the multitude of things occupying us this morning. So you had to wake your brother Lookie up, because he was the best man, and you had to be at, the wedding started at 10.
Yeah.
So even getting there by 9:30 was close.
Yeah. And the weather was bad too.
Mm-hmm. Did you drive Lookie there?
Yeah.
He walked with you?
Huh?
So Lookie was in your car?
Yeah.
And then who, was your mother in your car?
Yeah, my mother was in my car too, yeah.
And then from after the wedding, the reception was where?
At that little Pollock place in East Fall Street.
Polish Nook?
Polish Nook, yeah.
And so after that, you went to your honeymoon?
Yeah.
And you had your car, so how did Lookie and your mother get back?
But Lookie had a car.
Oh, Lookie had a car.
Lookie had a car, yeah.
So everything went extremely smooth, right?
Oh yeah, for the weather, yeah.
Wow. And did you have your suitcases already packed?
Oh yeah, we were all set to go, yeah, we were all set to go.
I know there was no GPS then, but did you have a map?
Go to get down there?
Yeah, there's no GPS back in.
No GPS.
Did you have a map? How would you know?
I had a map, but I plotted it on a piece of paper. And
Okay.
I marked it. I marked where made the roll, that turn or right turn or whatever.
1 minute.
So you had everything written down on how to get there.
Yeah.
When you got to the Poconos, when you went to the front desk, you had to check in for reservations, right?
Yeah.
Was it inside of a nice lobby?
It was nice. It was clean and nice.
And Delphine liked it?
Well, it was rustic. It was rustic.
Uh-huh. And what was your honeymoon, 1 week or 2?
2 weeks.
And during that time, were you able to call your mother to see how things were going?
Oh yeah, we called her mother up, and we met these people from New York.
And how did your mother sound when you called her?
Well, she was wondering what's going to happen to her.
Even though you're moving in?
Yeah.
But in general, she was fine.
Yeah. Well, she was comfortable with Delphine.
Oh yeah. And they were best of friends for over 5 decades, right?
Yeah.
That's nice. And when you get back to your house, was Lookie there waiting for you?
No,
No, looky.
no.